So I started working full-time here at Terrebonne General in 1990.
Started in the fall of 1986, right out of my ENT residency.
The residency finished in 1984. So right there after that, I went to Turo and spent like 6 years over there before I came here.
1985 goes back a long way, a long, long way. Both sides of my family are originally from Terrebonne Parish from the mid-1800s. I was actually one of the first babies born in Terrebonne General about maybe a year after it opened, or less than a year after it opened.
My father had just gotten out of his ENT residency, and he was hired by old Dr. Ellender, who worked on Boulanger Street. And so we moved here from New Orleans because it was my father's first job, but I've been here since I was 2 years old, so this is my home.
The brother of my father was a pathologist, and he was actually the inspiration for me to go into the medical career. I remember in my grandfather's house, there was a lot of skulls and bones and anatomy textbooks and all that.
I mean, I was born and raised in between Raceland and Thibodeau on Bay Lafourche. Like, my dad was a sugarcane farmer.
I had two first cousins who were doctors.
You know, when you first think of careers, I thought I was going to be like a chemist or a scientist and, discover things and invent things. I love to learn stuff.
Dr. Mary Ushday. My other first cousin was Dr. Bud Young, who was a neurosurgeon in Lafayette. And they were wonderful role models for me.
However my brain's constructed, the sciences and the math are just something I've always been very fond of.
I'm originally from El Salvador. We had a civil war going on. So I came here because of that, but my intention was to come back. And physical medicine and rehabilitation was a specialty that wasn't well known over there, and even here either.
I truly believe it chose me. Growing up in Houma, which is a very small town in the 60s and 70s, this hospital had maybe 20 doctors on staff. You knew everybody. I'd make rounds with my father. He'd bring us here on the weekends to just see his patients, and it's just sort of a life that I came to love.
One time I was serving Mass as an altar boy, and I was, holding water for the priest to wash his hands, and then he just fainted on us.
I had the good fortune of working as an orderly at a very, very early age.
And I just sat there not believing what I saw, like what to do, It was kind of that moment that really made me feel like I had no doubt at that point, I'm gonna be a doctor because I wanna know what to do.
Obviously, growing up in South Louisiana, I love hunting and fishing. I love the community, and I wanted to come back. And
the group, I guess, that I was with that got the contract to work in Houma, but I like it from the beginning. And when the opportunity opens, I didn't hesitate to take it.
When I was in med school and we were talking about where I was going to practice, I would tell him, Dad, I don't know where I'm going to practice, but it won't be Houma, Louisiana.
I met my wife in residency, and she was from out of state. She was from Cincinnati. And we went to a lot of places looking for where we would settle down, maybe raise a family. And I was looking for up-to-date. I wanted to, cutting-edge medicine. That was my goal.
Like most young people, you want to leave your hometown for bigger and brighter things. But after you've been away for a while, you really realize what you're missing.
I think the deeper roots of where you're from, family, that was a stronger calling. So I think that's what tipped the scales.
Traditionally, most family doctors were doing family practice and OCMED. And I decided to do straight OCMED.
And I choose to do inpatient rehabilitation mostly.
When I came into practice in the 80s, a goodly number of my patients still spoke French. They did not speak English.
Back in the day, if you will, we pretty much did everything from critical care to neonatal care to surgical care. And it was a great challenge for me.
You may not have had one CAT scan in South Louisiana or one MRI, so you couldn't rely so readily on that. So you had to rely more on just your clinical skills and your knowledge and things like that.
I think the biggest thing is the technology that's really different.
Now they're able to do much greater things with technology, but I do think because of that, you lose some of the personal touch with your patients.
You know, when we started out, it was more hands-on and interaction. We didn't have a lot of the testing and the ability to do procedures that you see commonplace now.
Oh, I have tremendous memories.
Being able to work with my father for about 15 years before he died. He died in 2000. Being able to spend that time with him just was invaluable because for so many years I was away at school somewhere.
Patients think they're going to die and want to share their last thoughts with you, want to hold your hand. That's kind of unforgettable.
I do have great joy every time that a patient is discharged. We are discharging 2 patients right now. One gentleman with a stroke is going to an assisted living facility. He's extremely happy of his recovery. That happens almost on a weekly basis.
Seeing the multiple generations of families that have come through Terrebonne General, and I can walk through the halls now and say, hey, I remember your dad. I worked with your dad for 20 years. Or nowadays, I worked with your grandfather.
With the COVID epidemic, when it first started, working with the staff here and my colleagues, you know, at that time, we didn't have a treatment protocol. I mean, no one knew what COVID did, or no one knew how best to treat COVID. It was a work in progress and just a dedication from the staff and to watch them do what they had to do. I don't know, it was an invigorating experience. I think it kind of rejuvenated, you know, and reaffirmed your decision to go into medicine.
My daughter's a physician with Ochsner, and she has a close relationship with the physicians here at Terrebonne General. You know, she and I talk almost every other day about different patients, and it's really been wonderful to see her grow and experience different things.
High school students looking into the medical career to get ready for long nights of study, long nights of working.
Take some time early on in your practice when you're probably going to be somewhat slow. Get to know your patients. Spend an extra 2 or 3 minutes talking to your patients about, about their family. You know, you have any kids? Are you married? What do you do for a living?
Be patient. Enjoy the journey. It's not about the money. It's about the well-being of the patient.
Those little things endear patients to you.
If you get good patient outcomes, that's going to be your best reward in medicine.
I really treasure my relationship that I've had with Terrebonne General. The hospital has changed tremendously in those 36 years.
The longevity speaks by itself.
I was born and raised only a few blocks behind the hospital and used to play on the grounds over here. So my connection to Terrebonne General is for generations.
I've been here because I like it. I love everything from the food to the medical staff to the auxiliary staff.
Terrebonne General's been a great place to practice. I mean, you know, keeping up with technology and supporting all the things we would like to have as doctors to practice state-of-the-art medicine.
And it's been fabulous to watch the growth of the hospital.
They've had to face a tremendous amount of adversity, obviously now with Hurricane Ida and all the damages that we sustained.
My endless gratitude for administration and everybody to keep up with all the changes in medicine.
The administration here at Terrebonne General has maintained a close relationship with the medical staff. They do listen to the medical staff. They do share information with the staff, and we appreciate that. It's critical for the people of Terrebonne Parish to have a top-notch healthcare system that they can turn to.
Appreciate and respect the trust that a patient who's never even seen you before, doesn't know you, and they put all that trust and faith in you just because You're a doctor.
It's absolutely elating to see patients going home when they came normally 2 weeks before, the most 3 weeks. They couldn't walk. Now they're walking, they're talking, they're
Constantly learning. And I learned from my patients.
Obviously, crazy or hectic would be words that come to mind.
one word is hard to think about it, but again, maybe the word that I just choose is rewarding.
You have to be multifaceted and be able to multitask.
And I've learned that if I listen to my patients closely enough, they'll lead me down the trail to the right diagnosis.
I think fulfilling, I guess, would be the word I would use.
I never in my wildest dreams would have imagined that I would be here for over 30 years. Looking back where I started and where I am now, it went by so fast.